Chanson itute magpiar Wheatley nisigasun o Pasquyakuche. To wow. Welcome to APTN National News. A chief in Manitoba says issues within his First Nations Child and Family Services Agency are creating safety risks for the children they are supposed to protect. Peguis First Nation Chief Stanley Bird is calling for the termination of his community's Child and Family Services Coordination Agreement with the federal and Manitoba governments. He says there is no support or voice for the children in Peguis CFS as a result of a lack of oversight for the system. The 2020 passing of Bill C-92 recognized the rights of Indigenous governments to have jurisdiction over CFS for their communities. But Bird says concerns from Peguis families and children alike tell him the agreement has failed to meet the standards of safety and transparency. He wants to create a new agreement with higher standards for accountability.
There's no accountability and there's no transparency. Many families have called me saying the agency won't even talk to them. Children themselves are calling our office and asking for help because they've been turned away from the agency, by the agency. And when they call the Children's Advocate Office, they're told that she has no jurisdiction. This leaves our kids with nowhere to go. And unlike the rest of Manitoba, there's no proper oversight, there's no proper checks, and there's no independent review.
The National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations says she plans to press hate crime charges against the leader of the People's Party of Canada. Our Creason Adjacote brings you up to speed.
In a social media post made on Wednesday, APTN National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak said she is reporting the People's Party of Canada leader Maxime Bernier to the authorities and wants to charge him with a hate crime for residential school denialism. This comes after Bernier made this post on September 30th, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. In it, Bernier says no bodies of residential school students were found. He says calling the residential school system a genocide is a hoax, and he wants reconciliation to require an end to the BS, the victim mentality, the fake white guilt, and drifting. In 2015, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission called Canada's residential school system a cultural genocide after it was barred from using the term genocide. And in 2022, the late Pope Francis called that same system a genocide. And about 3 months later that same year, Parliament backtracked and called the residential school system also a genocide. In a statement, National Chief Woodhouse-Nepenak wrote, "Residential school denialism cannot be put aside. It is a crime in Canada to deny the Holocaust happened. The same needs to happen for our people who went through residential school. We need parliamentarians and senators to protect residential school survivors from hate speech." Woodhouse-Nepenak says she wants a bill passed to fight residential school denialism, like Bill C-413, a federal bill that would do just that. It, however, died on the order paper when former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau prorogued Parliament on January 6th. In a statement to APTN News, the AFN confirms they have reached out to the RCMP and called for an investigation into Bernier's actions. APTN News also reached out to Bernier's staff for comment. They stand by Bernier's original post, and Bernier added, "Chief Woodhouse-Nepenak reacts like a typical petty tyrant who thinks they can use state coercion to shut down political opponents and people they disagree with. Nothing I wrote can be considered hate crime under current Canadian law, at least until new censorship laws are adopted by the Carney government." APTN News will continue to follow this story.
Kinanaskamitin Creason. The Mohawk community of Kahnawake is unveiling a new cultural arts center next year. Kahnawake launched the last phase of their funding campaign, stating the center is near completion. Our APTN reporter Savannah Craig visited the site and spoke with those involved in the project, who say the center is much more than just a building.
When you look up, we're also going to have the celestial sky, our creation story of sky woman falling. We're going to see the 7 dancers in there, everything. Everything has been thought to us.
For Lisa Phillips, it's been a long time dream to open a new cultural center in Kahnawake. and now it will become a reality.
40 years of a dream means 40 years of working, right?
For the last 26 years, she's been working at Kahnawake Language and Cultural Center to help revitalize the Mohawk language.
My parents were speakers, but I didn't even know they were speakers. It was hidden. So it became something that was proven to us that there's no value in it, so it became a hidden language.
Now her work to put value back into the language will have a new home at the cultural center called Kahnawake.
So the language center is going to be right there.
Kahnawake launched its final phase of the project's fundraising campaign at the end of September.
It is such a huge project, the biggest project that Kahnawake has ever undertaken.
For many in the community, the center will help heal the loss of culture created by residential schools and day schools.
It was frowned upon to speak our language. Children were even, spanked and beaten as a result of speaking our language. So it did its job in terms of that breakage of language transmission, but now it's our responsibility to make sure we get it back on track.
There's a lot of people in our community who are so removed from understanding our teachings, and it's not their fault, and I think we have to be gentle with each other.
Kasanahue Sky Deer has been part of the development of the new Cultural Arts Center.
The building will be that central hub of language transmission between elders and youth.
This is the main entrance, so follow me.
The new center will also offer a museum, a performing arts center, and even a longhouse.
We have half a longhouse inside as well.
The building also offers the chance for Kahnawake language school to expand, with plans for extended hours and more staff.
Within the new building, we planned for growth, so we have a third classroom.
This is our amphitheater.
Philip says the focus will be to move students from the beginner and intermediate stages to become advanced speakers of the Mohawk language. The center is set to open in spring of 2026. Savannah Craig, APTN National News, Kahnawake, Mohawk Territory.
Tapwegi to Savannah. Two Indigenous artists are gunning to win a prestigious award. We introduce you to them right after the break. Cheskwa. Pitigwe. One Saskatchewan First Nation near Saskatoon is marketing itself as an Indigenous tourism destination in hopes of educating visitors on Canada's dark past. CTV's Alison Bamford has more.
A trail ride in the heart of Treaty 6 territory, but this group is doing more than just exploring. They're at the first battle site of the Northwest Resistance, one of several historic landmarks located on Beardy's and Okamasas Cree Nation.
As far back as 1988, our community leaders have talked about tourism as a catalyst for cultural regeneration, language revitalization, and sharing stories.
And since 2018, that's what Pemiska Tourism has been doing, sharing the First Nations history through guided tours, cultural programming, traditional foods, and treaty education. This summer was their busiest yet, with visitors from around the world and right next door coming to stay in their teepee-inspired lodges.
Pemiska actually means come and find it in Cree. So it's really an invitation for guests to come into Beardy's and to experience Indigenous culture.
This is the site of the former St. Michael's Indian Residential School. Typically, it's the first stop on Pemiska's historical tours. And today, it's where the community is gathering to mark the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation.
We've been saying for years that Indigenous tourism is reconciliation in action.
The 2015 TRC calls to action include recommendations to foster Indigenous tourism as a driver for cultural education and economic development. Pemiska Tourism employs about 5 permanent staff. Macy Gardapi is one of them. She grew up in Beardy's but never really knew the history.
This was a really great opportunity for myself, as well as for a lot of our community members to have that access.
Access to history that leaders say is helping the nation heal. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Beardy's and Okamasas Cree Nation.
2 Indigenous artists have made the final cut for the prestigious 2025 Sobey Art Award. The winning recipient will be selected in November, and it comes with a cash prize of $100,000. The 2 nominees, Tanya Willard and Teralik Duffy, were also in Ottawa recently for the opening of a display of their works at the National Gallery of Canada. APTN's Fraser Needham has that story.
Tanya Willard is a Spamak multidisciplinary artist from British Columbia who is the nominee for the Pacific region. Her work weaves traditional First Nations artwork with contemporary Western influences.
I think what I look to is basketry artists in my community and in the Plateau region who use traditional art forms in very innovative ways at the immediate kind of contact with settler cultures. They adapted and innovated into new forms, and that's what we continue to do today. So we take the gifts that come from our land, the gifts that come from our cultures and languages, and we as contemporary people, remix them to reflect our realities.
I like the parallels between my two worlds.
Teralik Duffy is also a multidisciplinary artist. She's from Nunavut and is the nominee for the Circumpolar region. She stretches the concept of what has typically been thought of as Inuit art by incorporating Western pop culture elements.
There's this idea sometimes that Inuk culture is only like Inukshuks or Kamutiks or Igloo, and there's so much depth there beyond that. And then just modern life, we're so inundated with product, and it's a very consumer-based life. We were colonized by condiments, literally colonized by a department store, like not even a country really, like the Hudson Bay Company, very trade-based, so like products, we're surrounded by them.
Willard says she hopes her nomination encourages other young Indigenous artists to pursue their dreams.
Yeah, I want to encourage all the young budding artists out there. I want to encourage all our Indigenous kids and teens and youth out there who are dreaming of art. I was one of those kids and never thought that I would be here today, and especially growing up in a small town or those who are in remote and rural reserve areas. But our creativity and our expression is part of our power, and who knows where it can take you.
Well, Duffy says she owes a debt of gratitude to the Inuit artists who came before and have allowed her to create the pieces of work she does.
I always like to do a little nod to Annie Putugup and the Inuit artists that have really paved the way. They're the ones that changed even my view of Inuit art as an Inuk person. Like Inuk art or Inuit art can be anything. It doesn't have to be pigeonholed into what maybe a southern audience wants from you.
There are 6 finalists for the Sobey Art Award. The winner will be chosen during a ceremony on November 8th at the National Gallery. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Ginanaskamitin Fraser, we now want to share the results of last week's web poll questions with you. Our first question was, did you take part in an event marking the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation? 52% said yes, 46% said no, and 2% were unsure. Our second question was, is financial compensation crucial to reconciliation? 46% said yes, 24% said no, 21% said it depends, and 9% were unsure. And our final question was, has the health system changed enough in terms of cultural awareness? 54% voted no, 24% were unsure, and 22% voted yes. Thanks for taking the time to cast your votes. You can go to our website, aptnnews.ca/poll, to see this week's new poll questions. And we introduce you to an artist from Cumberland House, Saskatchewan when we come back. Cheskwa. Welcome back. Starting on the East Coast, Charlottetown 25, Fredericton 28, Happy Valley Goose Bay 20, Kuujjuaq 18, Chibougamau 23, Quebec City 25, North Bay 23, London 26, Big Trout Lake 6 degrees, Sioux Lookout 10, Churchill 2, Thompson 3, Barons River 8, Brandon 5 degrees, North Battleford 7, Regina 5, Uranium City -2, La Ronge +2. Moving west, high level 10, Peace River 14, Edmonton 19, Calgary 22, Bella Coola 5, Tofino 14, Fort Nelson 10, Smithers 7, Rock River 5, Dawson 7, Norman Wells 3, Fort Simpson 6, Tuktoyaktuk 1, Colville Lake also 1, Cambridge Bay -1, Chesterfield 0, Arctic Bay -5, Igloolik 0. Our next guest is Cree singer-songwriter Jer Carrier, who is from the Métis settlement of Cumberland House in Saskatchewan. Carrier infuses pop, rock, folk, and EDM in many of her songs that explore resiliency, identity, and her untamed self-expression. This past summer, Carrier released 3 new singles, including Blessed in My Heels, Are You My Type, and Can I Be Her? Carrier is also an author of the book Wild Woman, Master the Art of Pride, Presence, and Productivity. She's a public speaker and a former reporter, and she has performed across Turtle Island to thousands of audiences. Carrier spoke with our Krista Najikode. Here's that interview.
Jer Carrier, thank you so much for speaking with us. You have been very busy this past summer, releasing new music and speaking and performing at numerous events across the country, and you have quite a few life quotes you live your life by. And one of them is, I wake up every day for the girls who don't think it's possible. Can you explain what you mean by that, Jer?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having me. What I meant by that is, you know, I think that for a lot of us who grow up in these small communities, these isolated places, we don't necessarily see people like us on TV or, you know, on the stage or whatever it is. And so for me, I wake up every single day because there was a version of me when I was young and I didn't think half of the stuff that I'm able to do today would be possible. So I work so hard to be able to pass the torch on from myself and the work that I'm doing to this new generation of youth. And it's like, hey, I've gone as far as I can go and I'm still going, but I want you to now blaze the trail, you know, blow that up, break down the doors, all of the different things, because what we have and what we possess is so powerful. And I want to let them know that they have the permission slip to show up and be that in the world. So that is what really drives me every single day, is knowing that there are a group of people, a nation of people here from Canada, and we have so much worth and value to offer the world. So this is kind of like my call to action to them, to stand up, to be proud, and to show the world what we're truly made of.
That's great. And Jer, you also recently released 3 new singles. Can you talk about what those songs mean to you and the message you wanted to convey?
Absolutely. So the first song that was released off of this second EP is called Can I Be Her? Now, this song, again, is just what I said, right? It was growing up and coming from a certain background, you know, you don't think that a lot of things are possible for you. And so basically the song is, you know, I want to be bubbly. I want to have fun. I want to celebrate my life, and I don't want to feel bad about it. So Can I Be Her is basically, again, that permission slip for girls. Be feminine, be happy, don't feel guilty. And it's basically all of the celebrations of life that you have. This, again, is a celebratory song that, yes, we are Barbies, right? The video is all Barbie themed, and it's all about having fun and dressing pretty and getting to be all of the cool things that, you know, we as women want to be. And that is basically what it is. It's, again, giving yourself permission to be happy and joyful. The second song is one called Are You My Type? Again, it's an R&B, very, you know, 90s influence song. And again, it just draws from my own personal music. And it's like, it's about falling in love again with life and feeling that excitement that we feel when we see something that we really want. And the third track that just got released last week is called Blessed in My Heels. Same thing. This is a call to action. It is, you know your worth as an Indigenous woman, as a matriarch. You have so much value. Everywhere you step, the world crumbles because it feels the strength that's coming from you and it's emanating. And I want women to flaunt that. So that's what it's called, Blessed in My Heels. All of my songs, of course, are coming from an Indigenous perspective to empower our women and our people to truly take a stand and tell people, hey, we're here, we're strong, and we're thriving.
I read that you're also taking your song Blessed in My Heels and turning it into a TikTok trend. In this time of social media, Jer, is that something you're always thinking of to help get your music out there to the masses?
Absolutely, because it's so powerful. We have a phone in our hand. It goes with us everywhere we go, and we may not be able to be in community. We may not be able to be where we want to be, face to face with people, but we always have access to that phone, and we can tap in and build that community everywhere we go. So absolutely, I want people to be involved. I want them to be able to reach out to me and say, hey, I'm just like you. We come from the same place. Let's celebrate and let's thrive together. So yeah, it's a tool that all of us get to utilize. So it's super exciting.
Jerry, you're also an author of your own book you released a few years back. What was that process like for you to tell your story in a medium such as writing?
Wow. I always consider myself to be a author first, a writer, if you will. And that's always kind of been a form of therapy for me, right? I believe that if you let things fester inside of you and you don't express them, that can turn into poison, which turns into illness and all of that fun stuff. So by writing, it again is a way to release that into the world. And so that's what writing is for me. And again, my book is called Wild Woman: Master the Art of Pride, Presence, and Productivity. And so basically what it is, it's about, service leadership. It's about being a thought leader. It's about pushing the envelope. And it's basically about indigeneity, our worldviews, and matriarchy. I had the great privilege to be able to travel around the world and speak on stages like Amsterdam, Vienna, all of these places. And people were uplifted, and they wanted to know our perspective of Indigenous people. So that's why I come back here and I'm like, when I'm speaking to the youth, I'm like, you are so full of golden information and the world wants to hear what you have to say. And so that's what the book is. Again, it's a marketing tool to be able to show people that, again, Indigenous people are so full of knowledge and wisdom. It's just, you have to take the time to listen. So
finally, Jer, you talked about it a bit there, but what is your message to our Indigenous youth out there who have big dreams just like you did?
Well, I would like to say that I am just like you. I come from humble beginnings. And for me, the biggest thing has always been that, if there's something that I don't like, I'm going to do my best to change it. And so that is my invitation to everybody else is like, yes, we sometimes don't have favorable conditions. Our communities are the way that they are, but you can make the choice to be positive, to be a solution provider. You can be proactive and wanting to make change. And again, it's a choice between taking the power for yourself and making that change. And I would call on everybody that listens to me. My message is very clear. It's about mental health. It's about self-love. And it's understanding that we as Indigenous people are so valuable. All you got to do is believe in yourself, have the courage, and I believe in you. So reach out to me. There's a community of people that are breaking down the doors. And that is exactly what I want for our youth, is to know that I am your biggest cheerleader. And if you need help, reach out to me.
That's Cree singer-songwriter Jer Carrier from Cumberland House, Saskatchewan. Thank you, Jer, and come back on the show anytime.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
Right on, girl. That's some great messaging. And that's your APTN National News for this Monday, October 6th. I'm TR Wheatley. It's been a pleasure to be here with you. Join me again at 6 p.m. Eastern. Until then, from all of us at APTN to all of you, Egasi, Itam, Kikawapa Mitinano.